Have you ever been lost, confused, sad, and depressed? No? Well, we haven't either, but I thought I would ask.
We are about to set sail on our adventure, so buckle your seatbelt, cross your toes, because this is
the Tres Delinquentes Daily Talk, sponsored by the Wild Wild West.
The loser?
And the unwind. On today's podcast, we will be discussing the factors that lead people to criticize their society rather than simply accept it, and we invite all high school and college students to join us in this discussion. I think a great point to start this conversation off is, what is the definition of society? Personally, my definition is that society is the people and their opinions that make it up, not the government that governs them.
I believe society is the environment to people and their interactions created by first-person interactions and social media.
If I had to give the word society a definition, it would probably be members of a community with different beliefs, jobs, and responsibilities, all trying to reach the same goals.
I agree with your opinion, Jaden. I believe we need all different types of jobs because when people have varying views on society, this causes improvements to be made. And to improve people's outlook on society, it's important that we unify people. This will allow people to see that even if views differ, we are all wanting the same equality and equal rights for all.
Create more opportunities for the members of the society. Opportunities could include jobs, sports, roads, fundraisers, and less crime could also be an improvement.
I believe to improve the society, the people in the society need to change drastically. So people's generosity, respect, responsibility, and participation need to increase. People just need to all be more kind to each other, accept each other, and do the right things in order to continue.
Well, Brandon, what do you think we can do to make people do that?
Pay them money for it, for being nice.
Opportunities as well.
I suppose if there's more opportunities, people would probably take them.
Yeah.
So even though there currently isn't those opportunities, do you think society is getting better or worse? I believe society is being worse because more and more people are becoming more and more split as there's new topics such as like the LGBT community and beliefs on racial equality. They're really just splitting society at the moment because with people with so many different beliefs.
That is a horrible take. I hate that take. I think it's better because people are now able to express their feelings and beliefs, and it can be seen all over the world with the technology that is, like phones and computers and stuff. Society is also growing larger with the advances, such as self-driving cars, like iPhones with like 3+ cameras, and more jobs like fast food restaurants.
2 out of 3, Jaden. You're wrong. Society's getting worse. People are being more divided over things like BLM and LGBTQ, as well as politics and everyone's views on wars like Ukraine and Russia and all that stuff. So society is definitely getting worse.
Jaden, I partially agree with you, just because I do agree that people should be able to express their feelings and emotions, but I also think that it's causing people to split in society, and then when they're splitting apart, people are just fighting each other for no reason.
Okay, well, think about how it was back in the day, like in the 1600s.
Well, we're not back in the 1600s. Today we have technology, technology is changing society.
Okay, so
specifically with technology, you have like stuff like social media, which has made drastic changes in today's society.
Okay,
stuff spread quicker on social media.
Yeah, that really helps.
Propaganda and all that stuff is getting spread very quick.
Yeah, that really helped the LGBT community spread, and obviously there's a bunch more letters now, which social media has really helped to influence, and their community is just growing ever so fast. It also helped with the Black Lives Matter protests, because really without social media, people would have just looked over it as another police brutality event.
Now when comparing the societies from the 1800s to the 1900s, kind of like before, I see a lot of similarities, as well as a lot of differences, such as clothing style, farming equipment, and the materials used in war. Now when I compare the 1800s or even the 1700s to the 2000s, there are much larger differences, such as clothing, communication methods, transportation methods, and even the styles of houses. So to answer the question, yes, technologies have changed the society drastically for the better and for the worse.
I would have to agree with you. Technology is changing us. It could be for the better, or for the better. It could be for the worse. But social media is advancing society very quickly. Riots and protests can be live streamed, and false propaganda can be spread and created within a couple of minutes. Take AI, for example. You can make videos of other people saying stuff that's not, they never actually said that. And you can put false words into people's mouths.
Yeah, people tend to have a lot of criticism over stuff they see on social media, even though stuff on social media is almost never true. So society is definitely criticizing other people along with their political leaders, because political leaders tend to have a lot of false propaganda against them.
That's a good take, Piggy.
People also have differing views just based on their economic level, because with the rich and the poor, there's a huge difference. When you look at, and with different age demographics, if you look at different age demographics, you can see an extreme difference in their opinions. Older people tend to have a more traditional values, while the youth is fighting to change. Like they're fighting to change primarily with gay rights, household responsibilities, ethnic conflicts, such as BLM. Stuff like that really has just taken off in the recent years, and the government is getting heavily criticized for their response to these activities.
I would have to agree with you, because every single issue that exists in our society is getting blamed on the government in one way or another, whether it be migration, BLM, LGBTQ, or certain wars, or any issues is basically being blamed on the government.
Yes, that is very true. Society is different for every single individual, no matter your gender, race, age, or height. Some people have a negative view on society and some have a positive view. For example, a person that does not have a home could have a negative view on society by being jealous of the people that have a house and a family to go to at the end of the day. Now, a person that is wealthy could have a positive view on society, because without the society, that individual will not be as wealthy as before.
Do you think jealousism can lead to racism?
It could.
It could?
It's a possibility.
Because I believe racism is a major point of conflict in today's society. Like, people have been criticizing the government for years over the death of George Floyd, mainly bringing up police brutality. But, like, do you believe there really is police discrimination?
Yes, I see it all the time. Well, I don't see it, but like I see it on the news and such.
Because obviously we no longer have laws that actually separate races. Everyone's equal by the law, but is there still discrimination in America?
Yes. Society is different because poor people get treated unfair because of their status and lack of power, and usually people look down on poor people because, some people are living on the side of the street and they don't have basic rights to clean water and a warm house to live in. But rich people are treated with respect. They have more power. The one thing America's better for is that we have a middle class. But there's basically 3 levels of power. So rich people obviously have more say. They have a bigger voice. Middle class, they still have a voice, but obviously the rich people are still above them. And then poor, everyone just picks on poor people. They have basically no status.
That brings up a good point with the middle class. Because looking towards the future, do you think we're going to have a middle class with all the current inflation rates and the low-paying wages?
I do not think we'll have a middle class. I think we'll just turn into the Middle East. You're either really poor or really rich.
How do you think the newly impoverished people are going to react to that? How heavily do you think they're going to criticize the government?
I think they're just going to blame everything on the government, because a lot of gas prices and a lot of just oil prices in general and grocery stuff is all getting blamed on the government, honestly. And people are proving it with facts and statistics and spreadsheets that what's happening today is making people poor.
Is there any specific event that you can pinpoint that leads to these increasing gas prices and inflation in general?
It would definitely just have to be COVID.
COVID, what do you think of the recent decisions with the oil pipeline made by our government?
I'm not up to date about that. I just know that gas prices all go up because of that.
Well, the Biden administration decided not to install that pipeline across the country, which would have probably allowed us to keep our gas prices at a similar level to pre-COVID. Do you believe we should still move forward with that plan, even after it's already been pushed under the rug?
I believe we should build that pipeline because that gives welders jobs. It gives it decreases the amount of trucks having to drive oil around, so less wear and tear on all our trucks. And obviously, it's a lot cheaper to do it because Once the pipeline's in, you don't have to pay truckers. You don't have to keep up on the maintenance or everything. You can just weld up a pipeline and then it'll be done. You'll have oil flowing.
But with all that heavy equipment, there'd be a lot more emissions. And the global warming is currently a topic that our government is criticized for. Do you think our government should be taking more efforts to decrease global warming?
Yeah, I think so.
Says one guy.
Do you have a reason why?
Yeah. Kinda. Well, I don't know.
I mean, just look at now. I mean, not saying this is due to global warming, but it's middle of December and it's 40 degrees out right now. So
Yeah, that's true.
It's definitely ridiculous. As we were getting older, we definitely noticed that we're not having any white Christmas anymore. Winter just seems to get pushed further and further back every year.
yeah, there's no ice for me to go ice fishing now.
Yeah, we're getting less time for ice fishing. As a snowmobiler myself, definitely noticed the trails are hardly even open. Last year they were open in Denmark for a single day,
Yeah,
and yes,
they probably weren't very good either.
no, they were not. There was very bumpy fields.
What kind of slider are you running?
I couldn't tell you right now.
Arctic Cat.
Honestly, don't know. I think I sold mine,
You
so I'm
don't
currently
even-
looking.
You think you sold it, or did you sell it?
My dad was the one selling it, so I couldn't tell you.
You're definitely not a snowmobiler.
How do you feel slavery plays a role in society?
Well, obviously slavery's been abolished for many years, but in the past, people definitely criticized society, definitely criticized the government about it.
How does your background change your opinion on slavery? How it affects the society?
I'd also like to add with the topic of slavery that some people just did not criticize their government for it. Many people in the South actually supported it. So even though slavery is a topic that causes people to criticize their government, about half the people didn't criticize it. So do you believe that this shows people only criticize the government or their society in general when it affects them rather than affects people around them?
I believe people get involved with only things that affect them, obviously. Like, say, us at a voting age, for example, we're not of age, so we don't really care about it because it doesn't affect us. Or, obviously, the North didn't really... the South was extremely involved with slavery because it affected them.
Yes, that is very true. I had to agree with Brandon on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Brandon's point here because, sure, if you ask any high schooler who they'd vote for if they were allowed to, they'll all give you an answer.
Trump.
But if you ask them for reasons, nobody can give you one.
I can give you one.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear your reasoning.
He is the best president in the whole United States
Well,
history.
he's not president right now, so
Well, he was. Wasn't he like the 50th or something?
I don't know.
56th?
Couldn't tell you.
That's like a big breaking point. You know?
All right, well,
right,
this
what's
is
your
a
view? What's your
primary
view?
example here. Jaden doesn't actually have a reason, but he does have an answer to the question.
Exhibit A.
Trying to fight?
Yeah.
So before this gets out of hand, I think we should move on from this topic. And Jaden, why don't you tell us about your source you researched for this project?
Well, the piece I picked was The Loser. It was written by Jay Ernest on September 17th. And a loser is someone who wakes up to an alarm and, they work a 9 to 5, then they go home, they eat supper, they go to sleep, But a loser could also be seen as like someone that's homeless, like someone that's wealthier they could refer to a homeless person as a loser because they don't have as nice of clothes and they don't have money.
So how do you relate this to the topic that people criticize your society?
Well, people they criticize the society because say like a wealthy person, for example, like I was saying before, a wealthy person could walk down the street or drive down the street, and they could see someone on the side of the road that's less fortunate as they are, and it could really affect how that wealthy person thinks.
So are you saying that this emphasizes how people criticize society because the average person is considered a loser?
Yes and no.
That's a W.
Why no?
No, because you refer to yourself as a loser.
I do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But do you think you are a loser?
I'd like to say no.
Because he's wealthy.
Yeah.
Who says I'm wealthy?
Look at you.
What does that mean?
He just built a house.
Yeah.
You live in a nice house. You,
Built
just,
that
you
house.
just bought a Subaru.
The house was built 10 years ago.
You
Yeah.
bought a Subaru.
You
That
got-
Subaru is 10 years old.
You still bought it, and you're what, 18, 17? You
Yeah,
just bought
18.
a car. It's 18.
Yeah.
Okay, but
many
I
people can do that?
worked for it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Or did your dad give you the money?
Been working on a family farm since I was 10, you know.
All right, next topic.
All right. I suppose I can discuss my point of research.
What happens if no one wants to listen? Continue.
So I worked with Onwine,
Did you?
and I believe it's a great example of how people only care for themselves. It really empathizes that people don't really care if it affects somebody else, but unless it affects them. The treaty formed after the Heartland Wars made the two sides happy, even though neither one of them really had won. However, it came at the cost of many teenagers' lives. However, the two sides didn't care about the teenagers' lives because they were happy. So people don't really care about anything unless they are hurt by it intentionally.
I'd have to agree with that. I mean, the juvie cops, they didn't really care about the teenagers. They just had a job, and they just wanted to bully the teenagers. And a lot of people weren't even really involved in the subject. They were just, the only reason they got involved was because they either received a baby that was storked or their child was being unwound. And obviously, they wanted to unwind their child because it didn't really affect them. They just get rid of it.
I think it's a really good point you bring up with the juvie cops, because they were actually motivated to catch the unwinds by a $500 reward for turning them in. So I don't think the juvie cops actually had a care in the world about the effect they were having on these teenagers. They only cared about the paycheck they were receiving for doing their job well.
I'd have to agree with that.
All right, Brandon, if you agree with my point, why don't you discuss your topic?
All right, so I did the Wild Wild West, and it's basically a poem about shooting, and there's a recurring theme in it saying 8 shot inside a high school, 11 at the mall. It's basically about school shootings, and it's an example of what's happening in today's world. School shootings, church shootings, and people dying as a result of it because someone woke up that day and chose violence. It's leading to people not accepting our society and criticizing it a lot more, because who would want to accept a society where on any average day someone just walks into the school and kills a bunch of people? So obviously that's why people won't accept society. All they do is criticize, because stuff like this happens on a daily basis.
So you believe these criminals are only doing these actions in order so people realize how corrupt our society is?
I believe they're just doing it so they can make themselves the famous, like the last fame kind of thing. They're not really even doing it for anything in society. They just want to get their name out there.
Do you remember the last person that had a school shooting that you seen in the news?
No, but I looked up Columbine the other day, and there's some really, really bad stuff that's going on.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Sounds bad.
The Parkinson shooting and everything.
Yeah, I would never want to go to school.
Would you want to accept a society where school gets shot up?
No. I'd
Exactly.
probably cry a little bit.
My point.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
Definitely a good point.
what I'm talking about, my boy.
All right, folks, that's just about all we have time for today. So to sum this up, I believe we all agree that people only criticize their society or the government which constrains it when they are affected negatively by the choices made in it. Would you all say you agree with this?
Yes.
In agreement.
All right, that's all we have time for. Thanks, folks, and good day.